The humid air over Bougainville hung heavy on the morning of April 18, 1943, carrying the scent of salt and jungle across the endless Pacific. A thin mist hovered above the treetops as the island slowly awoke, unaware that history, somewhere high above, had already begun to move toward it like a silent blade. Far to the south, on Guadalcanal, 18 Lockheed P-38 Lightnings sat lined up on the coral runway, engines trembling at idle. Their pilots stared ahead through glass canopies, fogged by the morning heat. None of them spoke. They all knew the truth. This mission had no rescue plan, no backup, no chance of survival if anything went wrong. They were going so deep into enemy territory that even a damaged engine meant certain death. And they were hunting one man, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the mastermind of the Pearl Harbor attack, the strategist who had shaken the American Navy to its core, and the most respected military leader in the Japanese Empire. Tokyo moved him like a chess piece, carefully, secretly, heavily guarded. No one believed the Americans could ever find him. But the Americans had already found him, inside a coded message never meant to be read. Weeks earlier, inside the dim basement of Station Hypo in Pearl Harbor, American codebreakers had intercepted a routine Japanese message. But when they decrypted it, every man in the room froze. The message contained Yamamoto's exact travel schedule: departure from Rabaul at 6 a.m., flight altitude, escort strength, aircraft type, arrival times, everything. It was the most sensitive Japanese transmission ever broken during the war. Washington debated for hours. If America acted on this information, Japan would immediately suspect that their code was broken. The advantage would disappear. Millions of future lives could be affected. But President Franklin Roosevelt's order cut through the tension like a knife. Get Yamamoto. Back on Guadalcanal, the mission was now only minutes away. The P-38 Lightnings, chosen because they were the only fighters with the range to make the 900-mile round trip, were stripped of unnecessary weight. Every pilot carried Yamamoto's schedule in his mind, burned into memory. Intercept at 0934 over the jungle canopy of southern Bougainville. The order came through the radios, just one simple word: execute. The P-38s roared to life, racing down the runway and lifting off one by one. The moment their wheels left the ground, every second mattered. They dropped to treetop altitude, flying so low that the tips of jungle trees blurred beneath them. They could not rise. Japanese radar would detect them instantly. For nearly 2 hours they flew in silence, the ocean stretching endlessly ahead, sunlight flickering across their aluminum surfaces. And then, almost to the second, they saw them. Far ahead, 2 Mitsubishi G4M Betty bombers glided across the sky, their engines steady, their formation tight. 6 Zero fighters guarded them, weaving lazily, unaware that death was approaching from below. Inside the lead Betty sat Admiral Yamamoto, dressed in full uniform, sword at his side, gloves perfectly white. He had insisted on making the morale-boosting inspection tour despite warnings. The commander, he had said, must share the dangers of his men. Those words would be his last recorded sentiment. The American formation separated, each pilot knowing his role. The Zero fighters dove the instant they spotted the rising P-38s, pulling away to engage the covering fighters. For a brief moment, the sky erupted, trails of gunfire, engines screaming, sunlight flashing off wings. The dogfight pulled the Zeros off their protective line, leaving the 2 bombers exposed. Lieutenant Rex T. Barber pushed his throttle forward, pulling ahead of the chaos. He lined up behind Yamamoto's aircraft. He could see the sunlight glint off the bomber's windows. He fired, short, controlled bursts. His 20mm cannon shells ripped through the right engine, sending smoke pouring into the sky. The Betty shuddered, dipped, and began to slide downward. From above, Lieutenant Thomas Lanfear dove in, firing a second barrage. The Betty's fuselage erupted. Flames burst through the wings. The aircraft rolled over, nose down, and plunged into the jungle. The explosion echoed across the trees, a deep, thundering crash that shook the leaves. Admiral Yamamoto died instantly, still strapped in his seat. His white gloves remained unburned. His officers wept openly. Japan declared nationwide mourning. And deep inside the Japanese Naval Command, fear crept in, a realization that the Americans could reach anywhere, strike anyone, and no one was truly safe. The United States kept the mission secret for weeks to protect the codebreakers, but among those who knew, there was no doubt. Operation Vengeance had achieved the impossible. It was the longest planned fighter interception in history, executed with perfect timing, flawless navigation, and absolute silence. It didn't end the war, but it shattered Japan's strategic confidence, removed its brightest military mind, and proved that intelligence and courage together could change the course of history.